Welcome to this series of videos about the cartographer annual 46 castle walls from Pro Fantasy. In part 3 of Chapter 1, we'll see tools to change the shape of the walls. In architecture, an alcove is a recessed section of a room or of a wall. If I right-click on the Alcove button here, you can see that there are 9 options. Let's look at them. There are 3 categories designing the shape of the alcove: boxed, with a regular sided half polygon, or with a half circle, or an arc. Then the frame of the alcove itself has 3 options: no columns, with square columns, and with round columns. All the alcove tools share 2 parameters, the alcove width and its depth, that by default is set to half the width, but you can change this value. Then with square columns you need to specify the width of the column, which is also the distance between the alcove and the columns. And with round columns you need to specify the radius, which is half of the width and also half of the distance between the alcove and the columns. Let's see how the tools work. We have here a basic double line shape with lines and arcs, and now I right click on the tool here and select one of the 9 options, for example a boxed alcove with square column. So I need to specify the width of the column, for example 2 feet, the width of the alcove 10, the depth is by default the half of the width, but I can make it smaller or any other value. And now I need to select the line at alcove midpoint. So for example, if I want an alcove here, I should select this point and pick a side to make a recess. If I pick the other side, I get here, for example, a huge column or anything else you want it to be. And if I choose this line here, the alcove is too wide to fit. So I got a message box here and nothing happens. With arcs it works fine too. If I want an alcove here, I select the point here and the side. And with arc alcoves, with round columns for example, set the radius to 1 foot, why not? The width to 12 this time. I don't need to specify the depth because it's the radius of the arc, so it's half the width. Here you are. One more. So, and what the tool does not say is, for example, with a basic boxed alcove, if I set the width to 12, yes, the depth to 15, and set it here, the recess overlaps the wall. That is not taken into account by the tool. It's up to you to modify or just click undo. So edit, undo, everything is back. That's it for the alcove tool. The doors have 2 common parameters: the outer width and the inner width. And the depth of the recess is equal to half the difference between the widths. If I right click on the door button, you see that there are 6 options. 2 main categories, simple and half door, with the 3 variations we already saw with the alcove. no columns, square columns, round columns. No square, round. Let's try a door with round columns. And I need to specify the radius, 1 foot, okay. Inner width 9, outer 10, okay. I need to select a first line at the middle point. So if I want a door here, I select this point, and the second line can be selected anywhere the door is perpendicular to the first line. It works with arcs too. If I want a door this way, I select the first arc here, the second anywhere, and I get the door. What happens if I use the same inner width than the outer width? For example, 5 feet inner, 5 feet outer. I select a line, the second line, I have just a plain door with no recess like I have here. And what is the use of half doors? It's for such a wall here where the sides are not parallel. So let's try this. Half door with square column, no, plain half door, inner width 4, outer 5. First line here, second, I get only this part of the opening. Then I select this line and the second, no magic point because there's no point here, but it doesn't matter. And with the trim to intersection point here, I just join the lines, and here you are, a door or a doorway at least, when walls have sides that are not parallel. The window tools include the recess in which the windows are cut out, so you don't need to use the Alcove tool for this recess. Parameters are the Alcove width, its depth, and the width of a separator. Of course, you also need to enter the number of separators, and the small space here is half the width of a separator. The window tools work almost like the other. If I right click here, I have a simple window with no framing, framing with square columns or round columns. Let's try the simple window here, and an Alcove width of 10, okay, depth 6, separator 2, let's say 2, and width 0.5. Now, windows have an inner side and an outer side, so I need to start with the inner side, which is here, for example, and select the outer side anywhere. Here we have the recess, 2 separators, and the window frames. It works with arcs too, inner side, outer side, the window. If I specify no alcove depth, the windows frames will cross all the walls. And if I use the tool on walls that have sides that are not parallel, you see that the windows is perpendicular to the inner side. And that's all that there is to know about the window tools. The arrow slit tools also includes an optional alcove part. So as parameters, you have the usual alcove width, the alcove depth, and the inner width of the arrow slit and the outer width. The arrow slit tools work like the other. If I right click on it, I have the usual framing options. Though with arrow slits it's not very common to have a framing, the tools were added for compatibility. So let's choose a simple arrow slit and set the alcove depth to 6 feet, the width to 10, and the width of the arrow slit, the inner width to 2 feet and the outer width only to 1/4 of a foot. Like the window tool, we start on the inner line of the wall and choose the outer line anywhere. And that's it. It works with arcs too, as you can see here. Last one, and here you have a defensive area. Crenelations like these have only 2 parameters, the width of the crenel, which is the low part, and the width of the melon, which is the raised part. The crenelation tool has no extra menu. So just click on it, set the melon width, 3 feet, okay, for example, then the crenel width, 2 feet, and now you have an extra option to add an arrow slit in the melon. First, let's say no, and we need to start with the outer entity, here and here. So you have your melons and the crenels. Let's start again, melon width 3, crenel 2, and now we add an arrow slit. So like the arrow slit 2, you need to specify the width, the outer width of the arrow slit, 1/4 of a foot, and the inner width, for example 2 feet. Outer entity, inner entity. On arcs 2, outer entity, inner entity. So, stairs don't really shape the walls, but what would be a castle without stairs? So there are only 2 parameters, the length of the going of a step and the width of the steps. The stairs tool has no submenu, so just click on it. Enter the going, 1 foot, the step width 5 feet, and select an entity that is next to the desired stairs. Pick a side, and here the number of steps that fit is 35. If you want less, just type it, and here you are. Of course, you can always use the erase tool to remove all the lines you don't want. Select and right click, do it. The stairs tool works also on arcs, going 1 with 5, okay. We select this arc and want to draw stairs inside of it, and here we have the lines. Note that the going is from midpoint to midpoint, so we have 1 foot from here to here. It's a bit wider here, a bit thinner here, logical with an arc. The 2 last tools from the annual 46 is the half scale here. We'll see these 2 in detail in chapter 2. And this is just the regular offset 1 command from Campaign Cartographer 3. So it works like this. You specify a distance to set a line or an arc or any other entity off, for example 10 feet, select the entity, pick a side, and it's set off. This closes chapter 1, and in chapter 2 we'll start to build a castle. Thanks for watching.